Wes for Poker for Pound Pups coming at you with vlog 15, 14. This is a fun one. Once again at Fortune Card Club in Renton, Washington. I don't think this is my best play, but there are certainly some interesting hands. This vlog in particular has a lot of hands which I think have more to do with the cards than how I played them. I certainly think that I left some value out on the table and made some mistakes, but thankfully we didn't get punished too badly. Curious to know how you would play some of these hands differently. Some of them are pretty embarrassing, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. We make mistakes and we hope we do better the next time. We start the day at 1-3, play there for 4 hours, and then we move to 3-5. Make sure you stay till the end, as the best hands are towards the end of the video. With that, let's get right into these hands, starting at 1-3, buying in for $300. Let's go. So our first 1-3 hand of the day, we've got 7-6 suited from the cutoff, 2 limpers, and I bump it up to 21. The big blind and the low jack come along for the ride, and we go to a flop of 9-5-4. We flop open-ended. It checks to me. I could put out a bet here, but this really isn't going to hit my range very well. And if I bet and then get raised, I really don't like it. So I think the best play is just to go ahead and check and realize my equity, which pays off when the turn comes in as the 3 of clubs. Now we've got the best straight out there, and we've got the backdoor clubs draw, and the low jack goes ahead and bets 20. If I raise, I'm not really sure what I'm going to get called by, and I'm not afraid of the clubs coming in either. So while I could elect to fast play this, I just stick in the call and the big blind folds. We go to the river of the Ace of Hearts. I don't love this card as it might now scare off any of his top pair holdings. And if he happens to have 2 pair, any deuce now beats him. So this will probably limit how much money I can make on the hand. Thankfully, it doesn't dissuade him. He bets again for another $20. I raise it to 60 and he snap calls. Maybe I could have gotten a little bit more out of this one, but we'll take a nice $124 profit to start the night as we turn the nut straight. 10-8 of hearts from under the gun +1. I probably should fold this, but at a 1-3 game, I don't think I'm going to get raised very often. I make it 15. The low jack calls. He's short stacked. He's been pretty fit or fold, so if he misses the flop, I'll probably just be able to take this down with aggression. We go to a flop of jack 7-4 with 2 hearts. We've got all the outs in the world. I go ahead and bet 25 just to try and take it down, and he goes ahead and shoves all in for about 50 bucks. I, of course, am going nowhere. I announce that I have a combo draw, and we get there very quickly on the turn of the 6 of hearts. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. He just shows that he had top pair with a weak offsuit jack. We will take it, bringing in another small to medium-sized pot. Let's look to keep it going with ace-10 offsuit from the big blind. The low jack raises to 12. I could go either way with just calling or bumping this hand up. I take the aggressive route and 3-bet to 40 bucks, and the low jack puts in the call. Going to a flop of king 10-6 rainbow, so we flop middle pair. Obviously, we're going to have a lot of kings in our range. I make a continuation bet for $40, just like I would do with any holding that I have on this flop. The low jack calls, and we go to a turn looking to improve, and we get the 5 of hearts. I'm not sure if I have the best hand here or not, but if I keep the aggression up, it's going to be really hard for him to continue with anything less than a premium. And I settle on a sizing of $110. The low jack thinks about it for a few seconds and lets it go. Running good so far and off to a great start. In the last vlog, we made a mistake with king 10 offsuit. Let's see if we can avoid doing the same this time. We're on the button and under the gun raises to $12. Because I'm a little bit deeper and because I'm in position, I make the call. This is a borderline fold, but I figure let's just see 3 cards and maybe we can outplay or outflop our opponent. We're going heads up to a king deuce flop. He sticks in a continuation bet for $25. I've got top pair. I've got an okay kicker, so I go ahead and make the call. The turn is the 3 of clubs. I'm not really worried about backdoor clubs getting there, but he bets $55. This is a little bit unsettling. He could have a better king. He could have an overpair. I don't see him firing again with something like pocket queens or pocket jacks, but I go ahead and make the call anyway. The river's the jack of clubs, so now our kicker doesn't play, but the only king hand that we're losing to is either ace king or king queen. Under the gun fires again for $80, and I go into the tank. $80 to win a pot of $365. I don't need to be good more than a quarter of the time. But what are his bluffs here? He's been pretty tight all day. I just don't see any bluffs in his range here the way that the hand's played out. I do block the king, but he just has to have a better king or aces here. Ultimately, because of the sizing, I stick in the call and we get shown the bad news. He has king-queen offsuit. Sometimes I talk myself into a call with top pair, and once again, I have my worst hand of the session, overplaying king-10 offsuit. Let's get back to our winning ways with ace-jack offsuit from the big blind. There's a limper, the low jack makes it 20, the aggressive player on the button makes the call, and from the big blind, I think the best play is to 3-bet. A good rule of thumb is to go 4x plus any of the dead money in the pot to really make those people pay for just sticking in the call. Instead, I go a little bit too small. I make it 75 to go. Surprisingly, the initial raiser in the low jack folds, but our aggressive opponent on the button makes the call. So we're going heads up out of position to a flop of jack, jack 5. Let's freaking go. I could go either way with a small C bet or with a check. Because this opponent is more on the aggressive side, I elect to give him the chance to put himself in danger. So I check, and you can hear what he does.
All in. You got less than 3, right?
I got more than 3.
Well, it's
I'm all
300.
in.
No, it's just no. It's a all in and a call.
Okay, I'm all in dark.
Once again, I get myself into trouble with Washington Poker. I think when he says all in, that means he's all in. So I think my call means that I'm calling his all in. Instead, I'm calling his $300 bet. I say that I'm all in dark, and he says I would expect you to go all in, which is kind of a strange exchange. Nevertheless, it's good friendly competition. He flashes a jack, I reflash mine. He shows jack 9 of spades, and I reveal my ace.
Wow. That's crazy. Wow.
So we're in great shape. We've gotten it in good, and we go to the turn of the queen of clubs and the river of the queen of diamonds. Chop this one up. He goes runner, runner for the chop. I guess that's better than him hitting a 9. Oh, what could have been. Sometimes the cards just play themselves. Let's move on to the next hand. All right, well, let's get back on track here with king, queen suited. After a couple limpers, I bump it up from the cutoff to 22 and get called by the small blind and the low jack, who was the one who just sucked out for that chop against us with the weaker trips, and we end up chopping the full house. So we go to a flop of 10-8-6 with 1 spade. Not great. We've got some backdoor equity and we've got some overcards, but when it gets to me, I check it back. The turn's the 8 of clubs. The small blind checks and the low jack bets for 26. He could have an 8 or a 10, but I think more often than not, he's probably just trying to steal this. So instead of just calling and hoping to win with king high, I raise to 65. I think it's big enough to get him to fold his nothing hands, but it's small enough to where if he calls or comes over the top, I can just shut it down. The small blind gets out of the way, and the low jack eventually sticks in a call. When he does this, I think I'm probably in bad shape. He's not doing this with a gut shot, so I put him on either an 8 or a 10. But the river comes in the king of hearts. So now we've got top pair, and he checks again. I don't think he's going to check with an 8 here and risk me checking it back and him missing out on value. So I think more than likely he's got a 10. And now it's time for me to bet for value. If I bet and he comes way over the top, I can always just get out of the way. I make it 90 to go. He takes about 20 seconds in the tank and then makes the call. The low jack shows a 10. I show my king, and we take down a pot of $380. We suck out on the river. This doesn't fully make up for the hand where he just sucked out on the chop, but it is nice to re-suck out on him. After 4 hours of playing 1-3, we cash out for a profit of $388 and get our name called to go play 3-5. So after a nice little profit playing 1-3, we make our way over to the 3-5 table, sitting down at the must-move game in for $600 and look down at ace-queen suited. The low jack raises to 15 and the hijack 3-bets to $40. I think most of the time this should be a fold, but for whatever reason I was feeling aggressive, so I stick in the 4-bet to 115. The low jack can't fold fast enough and the hijack takes a while before ultimately calling. He's also short stack. He's got about 165 left. So when the flop comes out 9-8-4, I probably should check this back. But if you think about the hands that I'm gonna 4-bet pre-flop, I'm probably gonna have jacks and above, and then ace queen and above, and then maybe a suited ace as kind of a semi-bluff. I don't really know what to do here. I feel like if I check, he's just gonna go ahead and jam, and then I have to fold, and he might be jamming with worse. And if I bet, I might just be running into a buzzsaw. So I'm not sure what the right play here is. I might just need to overfold from out of position when he's short stack. But I try and tell the story that I have an overpair. I stick in a continuation bet of 105, which is about 40% of the pot. And the hijack, of course, rips it all in for 165. I think about it. I think I'm way behind, but at the same time, it's $60 to win a pot of 580. So I begrudgingly stick in a chip. I make the call, and we get rewarded as the turn comes in the ace of spades. The river's the 3 of clubs. He shows that he had jack 9 of hearts, and we take down a profit of $300 right off the bat. Thank you, Suckout City. I don't feel like I'm playing my best right now, but I'm glad that we're up. And we get king queen suited again from the low jack. I raise it to 20 and get called from both players in the blinds, so we're going 3 ways to a flop of king 9-3. It checks to me. I'm of course going to c-bet this as I have top pair. Because I feel like I'm so far ahead, I make my sizing pretty small. I make it 20, and the small blind folds and the big blind puts in the call. To the turn of the 7 of hearts, and all of a sudden the big blind, who's on the younger side, donk bets for $50. It's probably the sizing that I was going to take. I don't understand why he's leading out here. Is he saying he has 9-7? Does he have a set and he's worried I'm just going to go ahead and check back? I don't really understand his line, but with top pair and a really strong kicker, I'm just going to go ahead and put in the call. The river's the 8 of hearts, so now backdoor hearts have gotten there, and there are a lot of 2-pair hands out there. He sticks in a bet of $100. I don't love it, but I also don't understand his line, and I only need to be good here a quarter of the time. I feel a lot better about this hand than I did about the king 10 offsuit calls that I've made recently. I announced that I don't love it, but that my hand is just too strong to fold. I put in the call, and he instantly mucks. I don't know what he was doing, but we will take it. Ace queen suited. We raise from under the gun to $20 and get called by +1, the low jack, and the small blind. And we go to a flop of king 8 deuce with 2 diamonds. So we flop the nut flush draw. I could get on board with a bet, but again, I don't want to get raised. I want to realize my equity and let my hand play itself here. +1 bets $100. This is a massive sizing for a pot size of $80. So it screams that he has a good but vulnerable hand. He doesn't want people to get there with the diamonds. The low jack folds and the small blind puts in a call. There aren't really any other draws on this board other than diamonds. So for him to put in the call is kind of confusing. Maybe he has diamonds as well. I'm not really sure. Or maybe he's slow playing a set of deuces. I don't really get it, but I don't think I can do anything other than just call. All of a sudden the pot has ballooned to 380 and we see a beautiful turn of the 4 of diamonds. Let's go. I check and +1 continues for $150. The small blind doesn't take too long, and he puts in the max raise, making it $450. This is a dream scenario. We've got the nuts, and there's a ton of action in front of us. Could go either way with either a raise or a call. If I call, I risk somebody with a set getting off the hook. There are also more scare cards with another diamond coming in. And the small blind is showing so much strength that I think it makes sense for me to go ahead and raise. And that's what I do. I put in the 3-bet and I make it 750. +1 shakes his head and tosses his cards away, and the small blind goes deep, deep into the tank. He starts shaking his head and shows me Jack 6 of diamonds and folds. Typically, I lose to these horrible suited hands because they've flopped 2 pair or get there on some crazy flush. It is nice to finally beat one of these hands, but I do think we got outplayed. In hindsight, I guess the best play is just go ahead and make the call. What do you guys think? Should I have just called on the turn and let it play out the way that it plays out? Or would you have raised as well with a nut flush, hoping to get value from weaker flushes and sets? Despite failing to get max value, we bring in $860 with a nut flush and move on to the last hand of the night. Appropriately, the last hand of the night is Ace Queen, this time of the offsuit variety. This hand we've got the straddle on for 10, the low jack calls, and I bump it up to 55. The gun +1 and the low jack make the call. Both have been splashy and aggressive, and that will come into play on how I play this hand. And we go to a flop of Ace 9-4. I'm out of position, there's a rainbow board. I'm gonna have a lot of pocket pairs that don't like this flop, so I set the trap and check. Under the gun +1 checks, and the low jack takes the bait, or at least that's what I think, and makes it 65 to go. I'm just gonna go ahead and call and flow, trying to make it look like I can't give up on a hand like pocket jacks. And what do you know, under the gun +1 goes all in for 285 total. The low jack folds. I thought I was setting the trap, but this is pretty strong from him. But maybe he's just reading what I saw. Maybe he thinks that I have one of those pocket pairs that was too strong to let go to 1-bet, and maybe he didn't believe the low jack. The other question is, what are the hands that beat me? He could have Ace 4 or Ace 9 suited, but when you look at the combinations that are still out there, that leaves only diamonds. At the end of the day, my hand is just too strong to fold. If he has a set, he has a set. There aren't too many 2-pair hands out there. I make the call, and he shows Ace 7 of spades. I show my Ace Queen, and it holds up. We scoop an $800 pot and end the night on a high. Even though I contemplated a fold, I think this might be the best hand that I played on the day. If I just go ahead and make the standard continuation bet, I don't think I make the money that I make. So we cash out with $2,125 for a nice little $1,500 plus profit in under 3 hours of playing 3-5. When you add in the profit from 1-3, we leave with a profit of $1,918 in just under 8 hours of play. Great day at Fortune Poker. Nice little profit to end the year. We'll probably have one more vlog come out, and then in a couple weeks we'll be heading to Vegas. So hopefully we can get you some good content from there as well. Percy, do you know how to say Happy New Year? Oh, thank you. All right, we'll see you next time on Poker for Pound Pups. Wes and Percy and Brody somewhere with one of my shoes saying so long.
Hey everybody, subscribe here to catch the latest episodes. Also, hit that like button and share these videos with anyone who might enjoy them. Doing that really helps the channel and its goal to support dog shelters, so thanks for watching Poker for Pound Pups, and have a great day.